Gaius Julius Caesar forever inscribed his name in world history. He was a great ruler and commander, achieving numerous victories, but there were also defeats in his fate. People loved Caesar, despite him making quite controversial decisions at the end of his life, and was eventually killed by conspirators who believed it was for the good of the empire. So, how did Caesar achieve greatness? And why was he killed? Let's try to figure this out. Caesar hailed from the ancient patrician family of the Julians. While his family was noble, they were also relatively poor. Caesar spent his youth under the dictatorship of Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix, commonly known as Sulla. Sulla was a military leader who completely seized power in the country after the harsh civil war of 83 to 82 BC. He initiated a brutal persecution of his former opponents, and during this time, Caesar almost lost his life. While some of Caesar's family supported Sulla, others opposed the dictator. Sulla and Caesar clashed on various occasions. For instance, Sulla demanded that Caesar divorce his wife, Cornelia, the daughter of one of Sulla's main opponents, Lucius Cornelius Scipio. Eventually, Gaius was included in the proscription list, which featured the names of people Sulla intended to execute. Caesar was forced to flee Rome and went into hiding for a long period. Only through the concerted efforts of his family did the dictator shift from anger to mercy. However, Caesar did not immediately return. He went to serve in Anatolia. There, he participated in several successful military campaigns and demonstrated not only his prowess as a military leader, but also his skill as a talented speaker. After Sulla retired in 79 BC and passed away a year later, Caesar seized the opportunity to return to Rome. During this period, he began to desire power and greatness. He engaged in oratory and law in Rome, even bringing some of Sulla's followers to trial. Despite his outstanding oratorical abilities, he failed as a lawyer. Then, Caesar decided to go to Rhodes, enrolling in the oratory school of Apollonius Milan, the mentor of the great Caesar. However, the trip was unsuccessful as Caesar was kidnapped by pirates. According to legend, Caesar established an unusual rapport with the pirates, even joking with them. The ransom demanded for his release was increased from 20 to 50 talents by Caesar himself, although the accuracy of this story is questionable. Shortly after his release, Caesar took swift and decisive action against the pirates. After this incident, Caesar started ascending the ranks of power. He was initially elected to the position of military tribune, becoming one of the advisors to the legion. Around the same time, Gaius developed a close association with Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of the most influential and wealthy persons in Rome. At the start of 69 BC, Cornelia died during her second childbirth, and the child did not survive either. Caesar was left with only one surviving daughter, Julia. In Roman tradition, girls were often named after their fathers. Soon after, Caesar's aunt also passed away. He delivered famous speeches at her funeral, a practice not commonly accepted then. Speeches about the death of women began to be made only 2 centuries later. In the same year, this allowed him to be elected quaestor, serving as an assistant consul on various issues. Typically, holding this position paved the way for noble individuals to enter the Senate. To fulfill his duties, Caesar went to Spain. Among his return, he began crafting far-reaching plans aimed at reducing the influence of the Senate. In support of this objective, he aligned himself with Gnaeus Pompey the Great, an exceptional commander and one of the public's key figures. By the 66 BC, Caesar had garnered enormous popularity. While Pompey was occupied in the east, Caesar effectively governed Italy in his own interests. That same year, Caesar was elected to the office of curule aedile, essentially becoming the mayor of Rome. He oversaw construction, food distribution, roads, and other related matters in this role. Caesar organized large-scale games and festivals, attracting more ordinary people to his side. Even at this early stage, Caesar harbored dreams of achieving significant victories that would solidify his power. He thought support for a military campaign to conquer Egypt. However, the senators rejected this ambitious venture. In 63 BC, Caesar secured the position of Supreme Pontiff, making him the high priest of Rome. To achieve this, he had to resort to bribing all the electors. As the pontiff, Caesar attained perpetual authority and glory, further leveraging the support of the people for his own interests. 2 years later, he assumed the role of proprietor in distant Spain. In this capacity, he governed the cities, worked towards reconciling warring factions, and dealt severely with anyone who dared to question his authority or instigate disorder in the provinces. In 60, Caesar returned to Rome. The senators believed that his victories in Spain warranted a triumph. In this elaborate procession, the victorious commander entered Rome on a gilded chariot to the joyful cheers of the crowd, the highest honor. However, Caesar had plans to participate in the consul elections, having just reached the minimum age required in order to submit his candidacy on time. Caesar decided to forego the triumph. Caesar, along with two of the most powerful figures in Rome, Marcus Licinius Crassus and Gnaeus Pompey the Great, decided to seize power. They formed the First Triumvirate, an agreement among three individuals for political cooperation. To strengthen relations with Pompey, Caesar even arranged for his daughter to marry him. Caesar became consul and governed with the support of Crassus and Pompey. To repay his benefactors, he enacted an agrarian law that granted excessive land plots to the veterans of Pompey's armies. As consul, Caesar utilized the support of the people and promoted laws that undermined the authority of senators. In around 20 years, Caesar reached the pinnacle of power in Rome, but he desired more. Soon, Caesar was appointed proconsul in Cisalpine Gaul, the territories from northern Italy to the Alps. Here began his greatest military triumph, the Gallic War. Caesar conquered all of Gaul, entered the territory of Germany, and attempted to invade the British Isles for the first time in the history of Rome. However, in 52 BC, almost all the Gallic tribes united around the leader, Vercingetorix, forcing Caesar to spend another 2 years using force to pacify the Gauls. Based on the results of the campaigns, he wrote a famous book named Gallic War. As often happens, this book exaggerated his exploits. Unfortunately, we only have Roman legends about this war, so our understanding is limited to their perspectives. While Caesar was oppressing the Gauls, turmoil brewed in Rome. In 51 BC, Marcus Licinius Crassus died during a military campaign in Parthia. Caesar was losing support among the people. His daughter Julia died, and the relationship between Pompey and Caesar deteriorated. With no one else to balance their conflict, the senators demanded that Caesar relinquish his lands and armies, summoning him to trial in Rome. Then he did the unthinkable. He crossed the Rubicon River, the border of the provinces of Italy where it was forbidden to be with an army, saying, "The dice have been cast." Caesar sent 5,000 loyal legionnaires to Italy. Caesar quickly subdued all of Italy. Using a policy of mercy, he attracted many people to his side, treated the losers carefully, and showed sympathy to those who wavered. This played a significant role in his rise. Pompey was far from being as magnanimous. Caesar captured Italy, and Pompey was forced to flee to Greece. The civil war had just begun. Caesar wanted to follow Pompey, but no warships were left. So he decided to protect his rear and headed to Spain to defeat the legions Royal Pompey there. Afterward, he returned to Italy. However, the soldiers, tired of fighting, rebelled. Many of them had participated throughout the Gallic Wars. Nevertheless, thanks to the charisma of Caesar, the unrest was suppressed. The soldiers loved him. He himself led them into many battles, addressed the centurions by name, and personally congratulated the soldiers on their victories. Such a person could not have been anything but a hero and inspirer. Despite his leadership and superiority in armies, it was still not easy to defeat Pompey. He had a powerful navy and defeated Caesar's legions in the Balkans and the provinces of Illyria. Caesar decided to land in Greece by sea, but he lost the Battle of Dyrrhachium and was forced to flee with a defeated army. His story could have ended at this point, but Pompey did not dare to pursue him. Fate gave Caesar another chance, and he gathered an army again, ultimately defeating Pompey. Afterward, Pompey fled to Alexandria, where the Egyptians killed him in an attempt to curry favor with Caesar. In Alexandria, Caesar encountered Cleopatra, who was vying for power in Egypt. A romance blossomed between them, and Caesar assisted her in conquering the country. Pompey's death did not halt the civil war. His supporters regrouped in Africa. In Anatolia, the Bosporan king Pharnaces II decided to profit from trophies while the Roman Republic was on fire. After defeating the army of Pharnaces, Caesar succinctly conveyed his victory to the Senate in just 3 words: "I came, I saw, I conquered." He defeated the supporters of Pompey in Africa. The survivors fled to the last center of resistance in Spain. In Rome, Caesar was appointed dictator for a period of 10 years. Upon returning to the capital, he staged 4 triumphs in a row, one of which was in honor of the victory over the supporters of Pompey, his own fellow citizens. This act alarmed many Republicans. Then, at the Battle of Munda, Caesar crushed the last supporters of Pompey, bringing an end to the civil war. Now, he stood as the sole and undisputed ruler of Rome. Returning to the capital, Caesar became a lifelong dictator, launched a propaganda campaign, and established a cult of personality. He minted coins with his face, renamed the month of Quintilis in his honor, and constantly wore a purple triumphal robe and laurel wreath, including to hide his bald spot. Such a desire to become king led to a conspiracy against Caesar. Its inspirers were Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. On March 15, 44 BC, the great Roman was killed in the Senate. The conspirators pursued a noble goal to save the Republic from the fall and prevent a rise of a new royal power. After the death of Caesar, the country was again mired in civil wars, and then Octavian Augustus, adopted by Caesar as his great-nephew, came to power and became the first emperor of Rome. What did you think about Great Caesar? Write in the comments.